Welcome to the video, The Gifts of Mary Magdalene and the Path That Opens the Way. My name is Dr. Melissa Sophia Joy, and I'm the founder of Sophia Healing Academy, as well as, I think I should say, co-founder or maybe conduit of Somatic Awakening, which is a healing modality and spiritual practice, which was taught to me primarily through Mary Magdalene, as well as other incredible ascended masters. And I am so delighted that you are here. If you like what you are hearing, feel free to check out more at sophiahealingacademy.com. Also, thank you so much for liking and subscribing. There's a lot more coming. I want to make sure that you can connect to what is coming in the future. So let's go ahead and dive in with today's topic, the gifts of Mary Magdalene and the path that opens the way. So Mary Magdalene is an incredibly powerful mentor and teacher in today's world. And she has the ability to both activate this divine feminine presence that is arising more and more in our world, as well as she has the ability to help us understand the divine feminine within the bigger context of Christ consciousness. So first, let's take a moment to define what I mean by Christ consciousness. So Christ consciousness is a much bigger, vaster understanding of what's normally thought about in today's modern and past religion. So Christ consciousness has the ability to really drop us into our own internal awakening, embodiment, enlightenment, so that we step into gnosis. Gnosis is an experience of actually knowing the divine within. So whether you are stepping out of being a part of a church where it felt like it was just too limiting for you, the religious constructs, or whether you've never been a part of the church and you want to find out more and step more into embodying Christ consciousness, this video is for you. So let's go ahead and first make sure that we're all on the same page in regard to who we're talking about here with Mary Magdalene. So although the falsehoods that Pope Gregory started in the 16th century that stated that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute can still continue on with some people, this deception was finally rejected by the Catholic Church in 1969. If you want to find out more about that, just Google it. There's a lot online regarding it. And in 2016, Pope Francis officially declared that Mary Magdalene was the apostle to the apostles. Also, in the Gospel of Philip, which is a gospel that was found as part of the Nag Hammadi scrolls, it was an ancient Christian gospel that the Roman Catholic Church did not want to have in the Bible. So they shunted it away and tried to eradicate all of these, except for there were some found, hallelujah, in Egypt in 1945. In this gospel, it states that Mary Magdalene was Yeshua's koinonos. And this word is a Greek word that has varying meanings. Some meanings is that it is a spiritual partner, and also it means marital partner. That's right, a marital partner, right? So I'm not going to go too far down into that road, but I just wanted to point that out, because whether that was true or not, we know that from the beginning, Mary Magdalene was an incredibly vital part of Yeshua's teachings. And I use the word Yeshua, that is a Hebrew way of actually saying Jesus, just so that you know who I'm talking about here. So she was a vital part of Yeshua's teaching from the beginning and all the way up to the end. And in her gospel, she actually delineates the Gospel of Mary. She delineates how Yeshua led her through a process of powerful transformation and awakening to her undivided self. She learned and embodied the teachings more than the other disciples because she was so close to him. And in her gospel, it even speaks about some of the disciples not believing some of the things that she shared because she was a woman. But as we clear our eyes of 2,000 years of misogyny, we start to more clearly see what has been hidden from us. And now it's more clear than ever that she was able to embody her true self and activate her own Christed consciousness from within. She was the one who had the most ability to step into Christ's ministry after he died and teach what the other disciples never learned. She was and is the apostle to the apostles, not only because Yeshua resurrected to her, but also because she gained the vision that Christ had. This is what made her so dangerous and why her image has been desecrated and her story misled, mistold for over 2,000 years, and why she is needed and her story is needed exactly now. This is the time of the arising of the divine feminine, as well as the deeper teachings of what the Christos mission is really all about. So Mary Magdalene has been arising in our collective unconscious as well as our consciousness, and she's shaking the tree of our consciousness because she has the information and the awareness to become a massive activator of divine feminine energy on our planet as well as inside of us, men and women alike. And she calls us to be present in our healing, to be present with our higher self, our soul, our spirit, our heart leading, to be present to our awakening to who we truly are, to opening to the healing and unifying presence of love, and ultimately the oneness that we are all a part of. And as a mentor, she holds a powerful love in many different contexts. She can be the sweet, soft mother who's nurturing and loving and caring. She can be a powerful and compassionate mentor who leads us through our most challenging initiations. She can be the sister who is with us through thick and thin. She also has this powerful force of nature energy that calls us out to the places that we don't want to show up to because our ego is afraid, or our emotions are afraid, or we don't want to look at that part of ourselves, or whatever it is. She has the ability to call us out. He lovingly stands with us through thick and thin, reminding us that the time of playing small is no longer. She's a master teacher of love and an embodiment of Sophia, Divine Mother. And she is here to lead humanity along with Yeshua to the true essence of Christed consciousness and into understanding who we truly are, to align us to the healing power of love that's inside of us and all around us, and living the divinity that's inside of us, activating our true humanity along with our true divinity. So you may be asking, how do I know these things? Well, I've dove very deeply into studying a lot of the scriptures that have been hidden from us. I also am a mystic and have been mentored directly by Mary Magdalene and Yeshua. So I want to tell you just a little bit of my story so that you'll understand more about what I'm talking about here. So back in 2008, my life fell apart on a physical level, emotional level, financial level, pretty much every level you can imagine. I was working at a college that closed. I was in a marriage that dissolved. It was 2008. Financially, everything dissolved. I ended up going bankrupt. And it just kept on continuing deeper and deeper and deeper. And it turned out to be what now I call my 10-year dark night of the soul experience. And during this time, I worked with many different therapists and healers trying to really help me, because what was really going on after my life physically fell apart is that I started having a lot of suppressed memories arise. So that was suppressed memories from this lifetime, as well as many, many suppressed memories from past lifetimes. Not because I called them up, but because they were arising inside of me. So I was trying all these different things to really help me heal. And in the end, what helped me heal the most was Yeshua and Mary Magdalene, as well as Sophia, Holy Spirit. So let's talk about what happened. So back in 2008, I was awakened during a night. It was actually right around Christmas. And Holy Spirit, who I could feel and sense and knew as Shekinah, Holy Sophia, was moving through me. And I was going through this Kundalini activation, awakening. My body was moving, bouncing back and forth. It was almost like I was going through like an energetic spiritual convulsion experience. And what I felt on the inside was this incredible, powerful presence and love that was clearing me out, that was clearing all negativity, density, even other people's energy. It was clearing me out. And at the end of this process, I heard this powerful female voice. And she said, "You are of the order of the Magdalene." And my mind had no idea what she was talking about, but my soul and my spirit knew that that was true. On a bone level, I knew that I was of the order of the Magdalene, but I had no idea exactly what that meant. So I started diving in and learning and studying more and more about who is the Magdalene? What was she all about? What is this path really about? So fast forward to January of 2013, I again was awakened in the middle of the night. This time I was just coming out of a really bad flu and I had a really high fever. I was just coming out of that. And I was awakened in the middle of the night with this incredibly powerful vision that forever changed my life. Yeshua and Mary Magdalene walked into my room. I could feel a love that was so palpable and so incredible. It melted my entire being, and I felt like I was a puddle on the floor. I could smell roses, and I knew that this was forever going to change my life. So they shared with me, the essence of what they shared with me was that it was time for me to remember who I am. And it was time for me to share what I remembered. And that in the essence of everyone, that we're all connected and that we're all divine. So they gave me several different practices to move forward with. The primary thing was a solid, rock solid meditation practice and prayer practice. And I started diving into this time of powerful initiatory experience that was over about a 3 to 4 year time period. And as this vision faded and I went into my life and I started meditating more and more, what I found was that Mary Magdalene started showing up in my everyday meditation practice. And she was teaching me a form of how to bring my higher self energy, which is definitely absolutely connected to the divine, into my being, because I had incredible, very, very dense somatic contractions from all the trauma that was being remembered in my being, both from this lifetime and especially from literally thousands of years of lifetimes of trauma that I had walked through. There were some good lives in there, but there were a lot of lives that where I had experienced trauma. So she was showing me through this process that as the light came into a very specific laser-like focus in connection and relationship with the density that was there, what happened is that the density would transmute, literally transmute. And the more this process occurred, the more transmutation happened. And I literally started feeling lighter, better, more filled with ease and grace and peace in my life. And my higher self and divine energy started embodying and manifesting more and more in my life as I moved forward with this practice. So I then brought this into my healing practice as a naturopathic doctor and mind, body, spirit specialist. And I started noticing that this energy, what I was learning from Mary Magdalene, was powerfully healing the people that I was working with, because a lot of them had trauma stuck in their body. That's why they were sick on a physical and emotional level. And it was so powerful and so amazing what I kept on witnessing day in and day out of my practice. I knew that this was what I was supposed to teach. This is what they were talking about in that vision. So from here, I started teaching this healing modality and spiritual practice, now known as Somatic Awakening, far and wide. And that is why I'm sharing this video with you today, because there's a lot that I want to share with you regarding what I learned from Mary Magdalene, as well as how the path of somatic awakening, because it is definitely a mystical Christian path, how that opens the way to Christ consciousness. And again, this is not connected to any specific formal religious Christianity, as you can tell. This is the mystical gnosis of what Christ consciousness actually is. So let's move forward and talk about some of the gifts that Mary Magdalene has to share with us. I can also say that the Christ consciousness that Mary Magdalene and Yeshua taught us that has been hidden. As Megan Watterson says, now we learn the Christianity that has been hidden from us, right? So now we're going to step deeper into these gifts. So the first gift is the way of healing love. So in the path of healing love, we are asked to choose over and over again to be the embodiment of love and to live in alignment with the law of love and all of the attributes of love. So that's kindness, grace, compassion, and all the other attributes. And as we do, as we bring in and activate this love in our being, we begin the process of transmuting the density within us. This is primarily one of the primary ways that we utilize healing and awakening in somatic awakening is by connecting into our higher self and to the conduit of love that divine flows through us so that we can utilize this love in this transmutation process. And as we go deeper, the conduit of love, this conduit of divine energy that is connected from our higher self, is more activated. So this conduit is connected to our higher self. It is also what you could call Mother, Father, God, or as Mary Magdalene states in her gospel, the good. And I love that because it is both masculine, feminine. It is also focused on what it simply is, the good. So when this conduit is activated, it has the ability to heal the deepest wounds, literally the deepest ones. I've had the experience of healing wounds that I thought were absolutely unhealable after working with so many different healers, practitioners, therapists. I was like, oh, I guess this is unhealable. But from this experience that I had with Mary Magdalene and somatic awakening, these wounds are actually healable through this divine healing and love that's activated through our conduit. I've also seen this again and again with countless others in my practice, as well as students now who have had incredible life-changing healing and awakening that arises from this healing. It works with anything inside of us, whether that be a negative voice of our ego or our subconscious, trauma contraction within our somatic body, a physical symptom that is connected to a mind-body issue, whatever it is, all aspects of our being inevitably are touched by this love. And this allows us to be more present in our lives instead of being caught in the endless spiral, the loop of the ego stories and negative voices that are inside of us. Mary Magdalene reminds us that we don't have to be separate from this love, that we can return again and again to this love. And she is leading us along with Yeshua back to the good and to this love that never dies. And through this experience of this healing unconditional love that is with us through thick and thin, we begin to trust that this love can carry us through our lives, no matter what's happening. It's that powerful. So the gift of healing love. So now we move into the second gift, which is the way of authentic power. So in this path, we're asked again over and over to fully step into our courage and turn toward that which needs our love, these places of density within our shadow, so that they can transmute. This means that we are asked to stand with some of the most difficult things inside of us, to stand with the courage that has the ability to be present with whatever pain, difficulty, terror, grief, whatever is there. But when we do, what happens is that we are choosing to bring this love in direct context, in direct relationship with them, so that they transmute and they're no longer leading our lives. And this process naturally activates our authentic power. This happens because the more this occurs, the less our ego and the shadowy aspects of our ego are leading our lives, and the more our higher self is leading our lives. It turns everything into a deeper understanding of what's what, so that we can naturally differentiate what's inside of us from the false power of the ego and what it wants, how it wants us to be, et cetera, even if it's painful, right? Versus the authentic power of our higher self, spirit, soul, and heart. And in this process, this opens a natural humility inside of us, a spiritual humility inside of us that actually has the ability to differentiate between the two, the false power of the ego, the true power of our soul, spirit, heart. And this is gold, because when we can do this, we more are living from our truth. And here we stand even more in alignment with our authentic power, and we reclaim all parts of who we are. And that includes the fierceness of the feminine principle that has been suppressed for eons outside of us, ourselves, as well as inside of ourselves, both within men and women alike. And when we have the authentic feminine and masculine principles in our life in balance, again, we step into even more authentic power. And this is incredibly important, because this authentic power has the ability to face the darkness in our world. And this is really important, because it faces the darkness in our world, not from forcing or pushing, but it faces it with the healing balm of love. This is so incredibly important, because this process has the ability to restore equilibrium in ourselves and the world. Here we embody fierceness without being aggressive. We embody tenderness without being submissive. We learn to stand, as Yeshua says in Matthew 10:16, as wise as serpents and innocent as doves. So now we move on to the third gift, and that is the way of divine sovereignty. And I'd like to quote Megan Watterson from one of my favorite books, Mary Magdalene Revealed. If you are a Mary Magdalene fan and you haven't read this book, I highly recommend that you check it out. And here's the quote: "If how we see, truly see, is not with eyesight, but with a vision, a form of spiritual perception that allows us to know what's real, what's lasting, what's actually true. If this comes from within us, then no one has power over us." Simple, right? Yes. And simply revolutionary. I love this quote, because within it, it speaks to the way of divine sovereignty, which is an important aspect of Magdalene consciousness, because it wakes us up out of the slumber that we've been in, with the primal force of our being activated by our authentic power, along with the primal force of sovereignty that's being activated right now in our world. Our inner divine sovereignty is activated. So this is the divine part of us that knows who we really are and where we came from. So this part of us can very clearly see through all manipulations, deceptive programs, and negative tactics from within ourselves, as well as from within others, whether they be our partner, a family member, a corporation, or a government, whatever it is. This part of us, this divine sovereignty, not only names what is happening, it also has the ability to fully show up to any manipulation or power over paradigm. It has the ability to say no by creating powerful and healthy boundaries with these people, with these organizations, so that their manipulations fall flat. And in alignment with Christ consciousness and our higher energy and the energy of love, we also have the ability to name what is with whoever is pulling the manipulation, and even offer compassion to the people, to the organization perpetuating these deceptions when appropriate. Divine sovereignty has the ability to break us out of any spell that we've been under, that have been controlling us on any level. And this is super important with where we're at in the world right now. We are shifting from being manipulated for a very long time and stepping into who we truly are and our authentic awakening and evolution. Our sovereignty knows the birthright of our spirit as divine, free, and unbound, as well as the truth of the divine sovereignty of our soul. It opens us to the freedom of fresh air that the soul, spirit, and heart thrive in. Divine sovereignty also is not a contradiction to unity consciousness. It's actually a prerequisite for unity consciousness, which we'll talk about in a moment. For we must know ourselves as free from all limiting structures that bind us before we know ourselves as fully aligned to the oneness of all. So now we step into the fourth gift, and that is the way of embodiment. So with the way of embodiment, what we are doing is aligning to the energy of our higher self and the divine, and we're pulling it, inviting it into our being. So it's a down and in movement into our body. Literally, it is divine integration that helps us step out of suffering, because we begin to see more and more when we have this divine energy present, we see the falseness of the negative voices and the contractions of our shadow. And we come into contact with the divinity of our true nature. When our higher self, as well as the divine energy that is connected to, makes contact with the density within our being, as I've mentioned before, these negative parts, these programs, whether they're programs from our family or from our ego or even from society, inner critical voices, contractions, etc., they begin to shift, to heal, and to transmute. And this is one of the primary things that Somatic Awakening teaches. So in this process, there's more space for our higher self and the divine to take up more full residence within our being, to integrate and to stabilize in our body. And when our higher self and divine is more fully here, we're constantly receiving more guidance, more love, joy, abundance, ease, grace, on and on and on it goes, more awakening, right? And so this process is not a one-off. It's not like you do this process once. It is an ongoing process of the light moving in, making contact with the darkness transmuting. There's more space for light, and more light comes in, right? And the more that you do this, the freer that you are from any density, from any shadow, from any negative voice. And it becomes a domino effect, because then you begin to trust it more and more. And as this happens, you step more fully into embodiment. And so embodiment in its fullest sense opens the gateway to a super highway of divine support, love, grace, and it aligns us to our highest good as well as our highest timeline to be made manifest in our life. It's not something that you can really intellectually understand. It is something that you feel, that you sense, that you intuit. It's very feminine, it's internal, and it's a direct experience within our bodies. And this path, more and more, as we embody the divinity and awaken the divinity within us, what happens is that the doors are thrown open to gnosis so that we begin to have the experience of the divine within us. It's not something that we're reading about, even though that can be helpful, or that we're thinking about out here or even talking about. It is an internal experience of the divine. And once you experience that, no one can ever take that away from you. You know it's real. It is part of the importance of the true essence of Christ consciousness. It is this lived, felt sense, awakening and embodiment within. And from here, we begin to step into what is known as the anthropos. And so this is a Greek word that translates as someone who is both fully human and fully divine. So I'd like to quote from the Gospel of Thomas. This is another gospel out of the Nag Hammadi scrolls that were left out of the Bible. And this is what Thomas says. What you say in a body. You can say nothing outside this body. You must awaken while in this body, for everything exists in it. Resurrect in this life. I'm going to say this again. And actually, I said before, this is what Thomas said, but this is a quote from Yeshua in the Gospel of Thomas. What you say in a body. You can say nothing outside this body. You must awaken while in this body, for everything exists in it. Resurrect in this life. This reminds me of a recent transmission that was given through me, where they spoke of our bodies being a hologram of the entire universe, and everything that is in the universe is within our body, right? So our body is the bridge so that we can manifest the template of our divine nature within our body, because everything exists within our body. It is here we embody our truest life, the highest vibration of the divine human that we are in these epic times. Here we individually and collectively begin to step into and activate the web of Christ consciousness in our world. So now we're going to the last and final gift, the fifth gift, and that is the way of unity consciousness. So the way of unity consciousness opens us to live more in direct alignment with what is known as the law of one. So the law of one is the law of unity consciousness, where we know ourselves as one with all things, and our internal polarities become reconciled. So in his deeper teachings, Yeshua was showing us through his own enlightenment and unification that the kingdom of heaven is within you, as he says in Luke 17:21. He was showing us the way of what it means to become unified within himself. And again, I want to quote Megan Watterson from Mary Magdalene Revealed, and this is what she said. Christ led Mary, this is Mary Magdalene, through this process of transformation, this spiritual path of integrations, the goal of becoming undivided. Her soul and self are one. She has become a true human being, and she can now teach what the other disciples never learned. She can be the apostle to the apostles as Christ's most beloved companion who mastered the vision Christ attained. This is the ultimate goal that both Yeshua and Mary Magdalene was trying to teach us, so that we could become ayadaya, which is an Aramaic word which means undivided. Here we understand and live as a unified whole within humanity and the web of all life. But this process does ask us, actually it's required of us, to no longer have the ego mind leading our lives and open to the unified field that's already here, that was here before we came into existence, right? It's underlying, it's beneath the ego mind, right? And so as part of this process, we're asked to powerfully deconstruct any limiting ideas, beliefs, and programs which arise from separation. This is high-end awakening, as well as the enlightenment process. This is really what the enlightenment process is really all about. And this process, it opens the doors to our ascension. And when I say ascension here, I'm not talking about going up and out into transcendence. What I'm talking about is going down and in to more fully move in our awareness in our body, our emotions, purification of our being through the higher and more final stages of the embodiment process. And as this embodiment process evolves, we come together and reconcile our inner dualities, the joining in what is known as Heros Gamos. So if you know the words Heros Gamos, most know these words to mean sacred marriage with a partner. And that is true. But there are deeper mysteries to these words that I want to talk about. So Heros Gamos also means inner sacred marriage. So the inner marriage of the male and female, as well as the inner marriage of the human and the divine, right? The undivided self. As well as we move more and more into these mysteries, we join the polarities within of the light and the dark. And we begin to see and perceive the collective oneness. In this process, the two become one, and we're more unified together in divine Christ consciousness. It is here where we fully activate our true divine template within our divine DNA structure. And we step into the higher vibration of embodied enlightenment. This is the true activation of the Christos Sophia architecture that lives inside of us. Remember, we're holograms, right? Holding everything within the universe within inside of us, right? So we activate this architecture inside of us. And I've received guidance from multiple levels that this is what humanity is being asked to step into in our awakening and evolution. Now, whether this happens in our lifetime or 500 years, 1,000 years from now, doesn't matter. This is what we are being asked to step into. And what I have discovered as I've gone deeper and deeper into my healing and awakening, especially utilizing somatic awakening, what I have discovered is that this is really what somatic awakening is all about. This is what Mary Magdalene and Yeshua have been teaching me. It's really all about unifying our polarities within the light and the dark. Think about it. We're bringing the light into the dark. We're unifying the polarities. And because this is where we're being led to in our healing, awakening, and ascension on a much bigger level, when I started realizing that, I stepped back and I was like, oh my God, I feel so in awe and gratitude and incredibly humble that this healing modality and spiritual practice helps us in the advanced stages of this unifying process, right? So I'll be teaching more and more about this advanced stage as I learn more about it, but I'm already in the process of teaching this more and more. This is why I'm teaching this video. I also am being called to lead a retreat this next summer in 2023 called the Magdalene Christos Stargate or Starseed Activation. So if you're interested, make sure to stay abreast of what's going on here. And coming back, just one more thing I want to say about this unified consciousness. As we step more and more into it, we begin to claim a seeming paradox that we are individual divine sovereign beings as well as we are unified. So in essence, we come into this higher understanding that we are both. We are individual divine sovereign beings. We are also in oneness with the divinity in all things. And what happens when those two come together? I've had just a taste of this. When those two things come together, we become true co-creators with the divine. And we step into our highest timeline, as well as our highest destiny of miracles, grace, joy, abundance, and especially love. because when we step into our inheritance of the great unconditional love that unifies all and is underlying all, we know that we are infinitely loved, cared for, and carried throughout this lifetime and our entire existence. This is the true gift of this path. As you can see, there are many, many, many gifts here, and they all intersect and overlap and open one to the other. So I'm so grateful that you joined me today for this video. So we conclude this video for today. And I just want to say, if you are interested in finding out more about the teachings that Sophia Healing Academy offers, you can go to sophiahealingacademy.com. I also have healing practice. You can find out more at somatic-awakening.com. And right now, we're in October 2022. I'm offering the introductory course of Somatic Awakening, known as Embody Healing and Freedom, for half off for many different reasons. It's an amazing course that teaches you the principles and nuances and scaffolding of somatic awakening. It's also the prerequisite for the much bigger course that's coming up at the beginning of November of this year, 2022. And this 6-month program really offers a powerful container for those who want to go deeper into their own healing, awakening, and embodying the somatic awakening practice in their life, as well as their own embodiment, as well as it's the level 1 for those who want to become somatic awakening practitioners. You'll just have to do level 2 as well to be a practitioner of somatic awakening in the world. So if you liked this video, again, please hit subscribe and like. Again, there's going to be a lot more videos coming out that have wisdom teachings such as this, as well as meditations, transmissions, and other things. And thank you so much for joining me today. Much love and many blessings to you.